President-elect, you've mentioned more than once how the Black vote saved you. A lot of people in our community are getting a little anxious because they are not seeing enough of the progress they thought they would have seen at this point.
Okay, let me respond. I've got to go. Let me respond. Let's get something straight. You shouldn't be disappointed. I mean what I say when I say it. I mean what I say when I say it. I didn't want to run this time. I ran this time because of the racist son of a gun who was president of the United States of America. What I've done so far is more than anybody else has done this far. I took on white supremacists. The only white boy you know who did it, period. We talked about closing the racial wealth gap. That's the single biggest thing I want to get done, because I plan on spending over $15 billion to provide for opportunity for young Black entrepreneurs, having diversity hiring in every agency. I promise you that is going to happen. Black farmers to be able to own their own property, making sure that, you may remember, I'm the first person, Black or white, who called attention to the fact that you were finding that there was the rate of people who were African Americans who were dying was 3 times that of white people. That's because a friend of mine, a white guy who happens to be, as you well know, Derek, the mayor of the city of Detroit, called me to tell me about it. I insisted that we keep a record on everything that happened since then. Guys, guess what I'm saying, guys, is, I mean what I say. I don't carry around a stamp on my head saying progressive and I'm AOC, but I have more of a record of getting things done in the United States Congress than anybody you know. Anybody you know of getting things accomplished. And that sounds so self-serving. I know that. But this is going to really be hard. This is going to really, really, really be hard. Well, if it doesn't count for y'all, well, the hell with y'all. Period. 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 I've been around doing this for a long, long time. I don't always get it right, but I always take responsibility. When I get it wrong, I acknowledge I got it wrong. But my overarching objective, if we cannot make significant progress on racial equity, this country is doomed. It is doomed, not just because of African Americans, but because by 2040, this country is going to be minority white European. Hear me? Minority white European. And you guys are going to have to start working more with Hispanics, who make up a larger portion of the population than y'all do in terms of raw numbers. We're going to have to be working with a whole group of people that, in fact, are the single most diverse democracy in American history and anywhere in the world. And we got to figure out how to unify this country. And you've been the leaders of being able to do that. Not a joke. And so there's some things that I'm going to be able to do by executive order. I'm not going to hesitate to do it. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to do what used to, Benita, you probably used to get angry with me during the debates, when you'd have some of the people you were supporting say, on day one, I'm going to executive order to do this. Not within the constitutional authority. I am not going to violate the Constitution. And I shouldn't have used illegal. It's undocumented. And look, I talked about what I'm not going to do, what I won't do. I'm not going to treat any of these people with disrespect. Look, they built the country. They built the country. The reason our economy is growing.
Do you support reparations for Black people?
Well, listen, again, we had over 200 years of slavery. We had Jim Crow for almost a century. We had legalized discrimination and segregation, and now we have segregation and discrimination that is not legal but still exists and is a barrier to progress. We have disparities around housing. We have disparities around education. We have disparities around income. And we have to recognize that everybody did not start out on an equal footing in this country. And in particular, black people have not. And so we have got to recognize that and do something about that and give folks a lift up. That's why, for example, I'm proposing the LIFT Act. Give people who are making $100,000 or less as a family a tax credit, which will benefit and uplift 60% of black families who are in poverty.
So by default, it affects black families, but there's not a particular policy for African Americans that you would explore.
But no, if you look at the reality of who will benefit from certain policies, when you take into account that they're not starting at the same place and they're not starting on equal footing, it will directly benefit black children, black families, black homeowners, because the disparities are so significant. So if we focus on the specific issues that have resulted in the greatest disparities, and we understand that that's part of why we're doing it. Listen, the reality also is this: any policy that will benefit black people will benefit all of society. Let's be clear about that. Let's really be clear about that. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No, because whatever benefits that black family will benefit that community and society as a whole and the country, right?